Have you ever had a world-changing idea only to be met with silence or ridicule? Now imagine that idea could save millions, but it's rejected, not because it's wrong, but because it's too radical or inconvenient. Throughout history, scientific progress has often been a battlefield, where new ideas clash with dogma and powerful interests. Many revolutionary discoveries were silenced, not for lack of evidence, but because they threatened the status quo. In this video, we'll uncover chilling stories of scientists whose breakthroughs were hidden or suppressed. We'll explore why these minds were ignored or persecuted, and what their stories reveal about the courage it takes to pursue truth. These aren't just old tales. They're warnings that still echo today. What makes an idea so threatening it must be extinguished? And what does it take for buried brilliance to finally see the light? Let's find out. Vienna, 1840s. A city of grand palaces, bustling markets, and burgeoning scientific inquiry. But beneath the surface of progress lurked a deadly scourge. Childbed fever, also known as puerperal fever, is killing new mothers at alarming rates. It was a terrifying specter haunting maternity wards across Europe. Dr. Ignaz Semmelweis, a young Hungarian physician working in the Vienna General Hospital, notices something peculiar, a disturbing pattern in the deaths. He observes that doctors who perform autopsies, often going directly from the dissecting room to the maternity ward and then deliver babies, have much higher mortality rates than midwives who weren't involved in the autopsies. The difference was stark and undeniable. He suspects invisible cadaverous particles, what we now know as pathogens, are being transferred on doctors' hands, acting as a deadly vector. A radical idea, a complete paradigm shift, before germ theory had even been conceived. It challenged the very foundations of medical understanding at the time. Semmelweis, driven by his observations, mandates hand-washing with a solution of chlorinated lime for all doctors and medical staff. Almost immediately, death rates plummet dramatically. The evidence was clear and compelling. You'd expect celebration, a collective sigh of relief, and widespread adoption of this life-saving practice. Instead, he's ridiculed, ostracized, and faces fierce opposition from the medical establishment. Doctors are deeply insulted by the suggestion they're causing deaths, that their hands, instruments of healing, could also be instruments of death. Without a full scientific explanation, without the backing of established theory, his compelling evidence is dismissed as anecdotal and unscientific. Semmelweis's increasingly abrasive and confrontational approach, fueled by frustration, alienates colleagues further, damaging his credibility. He's eventually forced out of the hospital, his groundbreaking ideas ignored and actively suppressed by the medical community. His mental health deteriorates under the strain of rejection, and he tragically dies in an asylum, a broken man. Ironically, and with heartbreaking cruelty, of sepsis, the very infection he dedicated his life to preventing. Only decades later, with the advent and acceptance of germ theory pioneered by Pasteur and others, is he posthumously vindicated, his genius finally recognized. Semmelweis's story is a stark and cautionary reminder of the dangers of intellectual arrogance and resistance to change. Even life-saving truths, backed by compelling evidence, can be tragically buried by pride, stubbornness, and deeply entrenched tradition. How many countless lives could have been saved? How much suffering could have been avoided if his simple but profound warning had been heeded in time? Sometimes the greatest obstacle to progress, the most formidable barrier to scientific advancement, is simply the refusal to look honestly in the mirror and confront our own biases. His enduring legacy, the simple yet revolutionary act of hand-washing, now a fundamental and indispensable cornerstone of modern medicine and public health worldwide. Nikola Tesla, a name synonymous with innovation, a figure shrouded in both brilliance and tragedy. He was a visionary inventor, a true master of electricity, pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible. His mind was a whirlwind of ideas, constantly seeking new ways to harness the power of the universe. He was also a dreamer, a man who dared to imagine a world powered by free, wireless energy, accessible to all, a world without wires, a world of limitless potential. His alternating current system, a cornerstone of modern electrical infrastructure, powers our world, illuminating our cities and driving our industries. It's a testament to his genius, a tangible legacy that continues to shape our lives. But his most ambitious project, the Wardenclyffe Tower, represented a leap far beyond even his previous achievements. It was a project born of a desire to revolutionize the way we access and utilize energy. It aimed to transmit energy wirelessly across the globe, providing clean, sustainable power to every corner of the Earth. Imagine a world where energy is freely available, a world without power lines or fuel costs. However, this revolutionary idea threatened the established order, the profits of industrial giants like J.P. Morgan, who held a tight grip on the energy industry. Faced with the prospect of losing control, these powerful figures abruptly cut funding, effectively strangling Tesla's dream in its infancy. J.P. Morgan, in a moment of stark pragmatism, questioned, "If anyone can draw on the power, where do we put the meter?" Highlighting the fundamental conflict between Tesla's vision and the prevailing economic model. Without financial backing, Tesla's dream collapsed, leaving the Wardenclyffe Tower unfinished and abandoned, a monument to unrealized potential. The tower, once a symbol of hope and innovation, was ultimately scrapped, its materials sold off to pay debts, a tragic end to a grand vision. Tesla, once celebrated as a genius, died in poverty, his contributions largely forgotten, a victim of circumstance and the relentless pursuit of profit. Adding to the mystery, his later work was shrouded in secrecy, fueling speculation and intrigue about the true extent of his discoveries. After his death, the government seized his papers, further adding to the enigma surrounding his life and work. This action fueled speculation about lost inventions, technologies that could have changed the world, hidden away from public knowledge. Tesla's story serves as a cautionary tale, a lesson in how economic interests and the fear of disruption can stifle innovation, preventing potentially transformative technologies from reaching their full potential. We are left to wonder, what if his vision of abundant wireless energy had been realized? How would it have reshaped our world? It seems that sometimes the world simply isn't ready for genius, especially when that genius threatens the established power structures and the vested interests of the powerful. Despite the setbacks and the controversies, Tesla's legacy endures, inspiring generations of scientists and inventors. Yet his greatest dream, the dream of a world powered by free energy, remains a tantalizing what if, a reminder of the potential that was lost. How different might our world be today if his revolutionary ideas had been embraced, nurtured, and allowed to flourish? A question that continues to resonate, urging us to consider the true cost of stifled innovation. In the race to decode DNA, Rosalind Franklin's X-ray images, especially Photo 51, held the key to the double helix. Her meticulous work at King's College London produced the crucial evidence, but her data was shown to Watson and Crick without her consent. With her findings, they built the model that changed biology forever, publishing first and claiming the spotlight. Franklin's own paper appeared as a supporting piece, her contribution downplayed. She died before the Nobel Prize was awarded to Watson, Crick, and Wilkins, her role largely unrecognized. Only years later did the world acknowledge her pivotal work and the ethical questions surrounding her exclusion. Franklin's story exposes the challenges women faced in science and the unfair distribution of credit. Scientific discovery is often collaborative, but recognition isn't always just. Today, Franklin is celebrated as a foundational figure in molecular biology. Her brilliance, once overshadowed, now shines as a symbol of perseverance and integrity. Wilhelm Reich, a figure shrouded in controversy, a man whose ideas sparked both fervent belief and intense opposition. Once a respected psychoanalyst working alongside some of the most influential minds of his time, he began to venture down a path that would ultimately lead to his downfall. His early work was well regarded, but his later theories, well, they were something else entirely. Reich claimed to discover Orgone energy, a concept so radical, so far outside the mainstream, that it would define the rest of his career and ultimately, his life. He envisioned it as a cosmic life force, a fundamental energy present everywhere, believing it could heal the sick, influence weather patterns, and even affect the very fabric of nature itself. He saw Orgone as the key to understanding life, the universe, and everything. To harness this energy, he invented his Orgone accumulators, devices that, according to Reich, could concentrate Orgone and make it available for therapeutic use. But his claims and his devices drew fierce criticism from the medical establishment, who viewed his theories as unfounded and his accumulators as nothing more than elaborate boxes. They saw them as dangerous pseudoscience, a threat to public health, and a distraction from legitimate medical research. The scientific community largely dismissed his work, labeling him a charlatan. Reich's defiance, his unwavering belief in his own theories, only intensified the conflict. This led to a protracted and bitter legal battle with the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, who sought to stop him from distributing his accumulators. The legal battle ended with a court-ordered ban on his devices, declaring them to be fraudulent and ordering their destruction. But the court order went further, demanding the destruction of his books and research materials as well. In 1956, a dark chapter in American history unfolded. Tons of his writings, representing years of research and thought, were burned by government order, a chilling act that resonates with some of the darkest moments in human history. This was a chilling act of censorship in modern America, a stark reminder of the potential for government overreach and the suppression of dissenting voices. Reich was imprisoned for contempt of court, for refusing to comply with the order to cease his research and destroy his devices. He died behind bars, a broken man, his reputation tarnished, his life's work seemingly in ruins. His work, his ideas, his very name were seemingly destined to be obliterated from the historical record. Whether his theories were valid or not, whether Orgone energy is a real phenomenon or a figment of his imagination, the destruction of his research raises troubling questions about freedom of inquiry, about the limits of scientific authority, and about the dangers of suppressing unconventional thought. Where is the line between protecting the public from potentially harmful ideas and suppressing unconventional ideas that might, just might, hold a grain of truth? Reich's story warns of the dangers that arise when dissent meets the full force of institutional power, when individual conviction clashes with established authority. Book burning is a dark stain on any society, a symbol of intolerance, a rejection of knowledge, and a suppression of free thought. It is especially troubling when it targets scientific thought, when the pursuit of knowledge is met with censorship and destruction. Even controversial ideas, even those that seem outlandish or improbable, deserve scrutiny, rigorous examination, and open debate, not erasure from the historical record. In the Soviet Union, science was often at the mercy of political ideology. Nikolai Vavilov, a pioneering geneticist, championed crop diversity and Mendelian genetics, only to be denounced by Trofim Lysenko, whose pseudoscientific ideas pleased Stalin. Vavilov was arrested, starved, and died in prison, while Lysenkoism crippled Soviet biology for decades. His seed collection survived, protected by colleagues who risked their lives during the siege of Leningrad. Another case, Andrei Sakharov, father of the Soviet hydrogen bomb, became a dissident, advocating for human rights and scientific freedom. For his outspokenness, Sakharov was exiled and harassed, yet he persisted, becoming a symbol of resistance. Both men's stories reveal the immense courage needed to defend truth under oppressive regimes. When politics dictates science, progress withers and lives are lost. Vavilov and Sakharov remind us, science thrives only where inquiry is free. Their sacrifices echo as warnings against the dangers of ideological control. True progress demands intellectual freedom. Suppression of science isn't just history, it's happening now in subtler ways. Whistleblowers exposing corporate or government wrongdoing face retaliation, job loss, and legal threats. Climate scientists are harassed and discredited by powerful interests seeking to delay action. During the COVID-19 pandemic, researchers who challenged official narratives were sometimes censored or marginalized. Corporate funding can bias research, and scientists critical of industry products risk losing support or publication. In AI ethics, researchers warning of risks may be pressured to downplay concerns. The publish or perish culture discourages high-risk, paradigm-challenging work. Today's suppression often operates through funding media and career pressure, not book burnings, but still effective. Safeguarding scientific integrity requires vigilance, critical thinking, and support for open inquiry. The echoes of silenced scientists remind us progress depends on the freedom to question. The stories we've explored reveal that scientific discovery is as much about courage as it is about insight. Suppression delays progress and harms us all, but truth has a way of resurfacing, sometimes long after the fact. Will we listen this time? Will we support those who challenge the status quo? The future depends on fostering an environment where inquiry thrives, free from undue influence. Let's champion critical thinking and celebrate those who dare to ask uncomfortable questions. If you found this video thought-provoking, subscribe for more untold stories from the frontiers of science. Thanks for watching.